is the Dery Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by WaitingForNextYear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
All right, you've asked for it, and here it is, another edition of the Dery Brothers Tribecast, right here on WaitingForNextYear.com. Thank you for listening and joining us on another spring training edition. Matt and Todd with you, your favorite Cleveland Indians podcast. As, we continue with spring training. We continue with Francisco Lindor talk. Obviously, that's the big news. Did you tell Clark the good news? Doesn't sound like, Todd, very good news with Lindor. We'll get into that. We got to talk about pitching injuries, Jake Bauers, Oscar Mercado. I mean, the injuries just piling up. But, Todd, first off, the big talk is yesterday's Jason Lloyd piece in The Athletic where he got Francisco Lindor to talk, and it sounds like talks are being tabled until after the season. And if any of us, including me, had any high hopes that Lindor was coming back, it's pretty much over now.
I mean, it was over long before now, but, you said this to me on a text yesterday, and I think in our executive producer, Jeremy, as well. Frankie's PR in this, he's handling himself so unbelievably well, because when he eventually is traded, or if for some reason they end up keeping him for 2 years and then he inevitably walks, he's going to come out. Everyone's still going to love him here. There will be no Jim Thome-like backlash for him taking more money. There will be no Manny Ramirez-type backlash or Albert Bell-type backlash. Sorry, I accidentally turned on my sink.
What do you got? What do you got? A Delta? You got a Delta faucet?
I don't know who makes it, but Flow, it looks like. You stick your hand in front of it and it goes on. Anyway, all of this PR has been so smart, but I honestly think it's all true, too. I mean, the Lloyd piece basically said that for those who didn't read it on The Athletic, that he believes the offer was nowhere near even $300 million. That number was never broached, which $300 million should be where they start with Lindor. That was number one. And number two, the other thing that I found most interesting was that Frankie put out a number of what he believes the payroll should be to be able to compete and contend. And he said, I'm not asking for much, only $120 million. And in this day and age, $120 million payroll should be the norm, not the exception. And the Indians are in the 90s. And Frankie's right. $120 million is not that much to ask for. The main problem that I look at still to this day, and now that basically Frankie officially said it's not going to happen for him, is that the Indians are trying to do something in the middle which can't work. You either build around Frankie and go for it for these next 2 years, or you sell off Frankie. You can't not build around him and keep him, and it just that line of thinking doesn't make sense to me. I feel bad for Antonetti and Chernoff. I really do.
Yeah, no, and the Indians have been built the right way. They continue to be built the right way. They've got young pitching. Their position players in the system are better, more at the lower levels. They've made some good signings. They've made some very good trades. It appears they have a 40 to 45 home run guy in the middle of their lineup in Franmil Reyes, who is under control for a long time and was acquired via trade, and then you ship off a cancer like Trevor Bauer. With that being said, all of those things, it still comes down to where baseball is right now, which is the haves and the have-nots. The fans are not coming to Progressive Field. They never have, since the mid-'90s when the Browns were gone and the Cavs were non-existent. There was no sign of LeBron anytime soon. The Tribe is where it's at. Unfortunately now, despite the fact that Paul Dolan is viewed by some as the best owner in town, and that's not very hard to do when you look at the competition. But with that being said, you got to pay the man. He is a special talent. He's a guy that he says wants to be here. You're right, Todd. From a PR standpoint, he's saying all the right things. He's smiling. He's talking about winning this year. He hasn't said one bad word about the organization. Yes, he's going to hold off for probably a Mike Trout-like $400 million contract and won't likely get that from the Indians. But when Christian Yelich just signs his deal, gives the Brewers what appears to be a good hometown discount, and obviously Yelich is a little bit older than Frankie, it appears that you say, oh, maybe we got a chance. But there's no word from Dolan. There's no counter. There's no PR from the Indians on it. Poor Tito is left holding the bag, or Antonetti, or Chernoff. And to me, where's your owner? Why is he not out in front of this right away today, coming out and saying, hey, look, we put our best offer out there. We want him to stay. Heck, we want to keep talking to David Meter, his agent, and see if we can do this. But something. But we're sitting here today having to speculate, and that's Bush League.
But do you honestly think, first of all, it's a good idea for Paul Dolan to go out and speak right now?
Well, then somebody coach him up. Then somebody coach him up if he can't fucking do it.
Okay, coach him up. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. This guy is a lawyer, okay? He's not a dumb guy. But obviously, public speaking is not for everyone. And as we've learned, it's obviously not for him in these instances. He can be coached up all he wants. Doesn't mean when he's interviewed he's going to say those things. You don't think that – I'm going to compare him to my least favorite person on the planet. But don't you think that people tell him, okay, before you go out and talk about the coronavirus, here's the important things that you should say, and he still doesn't say them. I believe that Paul Dolan is being told, okay, you do need to say these certain things, and he intends to, but he just doesn't because he ends up shooting himself in the foot. To me, Antonetti speaking for the first time in public about a contract negotiation, like you talked about in our last podcast, it's totally out of character for them, but he knows it's a desperate situation, and he's trying his best. Now, you mentioned Christian Yelich. For the listeners who aren't as educated on the Yelich deal, yes, he took a 9-year deal, or I think it was either 9 or 8 years at about $210 million. But the difference is, number one, he's 31 years old. Number two, he had already bought some of his arbitration years in an earlier deal that he signed with the Marlins before he was traded. So he already has 50. I think that deal was about $56 million. He's already banked that. Frankie's just he hasn't done any of that yet. So
right, he's into his second. Lindor's into his second year of arbitration. Correct. He's got one more. Right.
Right. He did not, but he didn't buy out any of those years of arbitration for financial security. So, and obviously, with him being one of the top 5 players in the game, he knows that he's got to maximize what he can. It's not going to happen here. He wants it to happen here, and it's not. The John Sherman portion of this, him not being a part of the ownership group anymore, I think has been completely undersold, and I keep going back to it because when he had the infusion of money, they added to the payroll. Sherman was out. Now all of a sudden we're dropping payroll the last couple of years. It's not a good scene. And Frankie said $120 million. He is not wrong. And to not be able to be at $120 million is, again, egregious. And if you can't be there, then you need to sell. And I know the whole he's the best owner in Cleveland. Again, this is like saying, for you Revenge of the Nerds out there, Revenge of the Nerds fans out there, this is the best looking Omega Moo here, okay? If you can't be better than Fan Gilbert and Jailbird Jimmy, then you don't. Then you don't even have to try, and you could be better than that.
And to give Gilbert credit, when he had a team that was good enough to win, and he had the best player who elected to come home just to come home, not necessarily to play for him.
Certainly not to play for him.
Right. He, as owner, decided to put all of his chips in the middle of the table and go for it, and you have to commend him for it at that time. I don't want to talk about that. But he did do that, and he delivered a championship. Now, LeBron delivered it more than the owner, but who cares? Regardless, the Indians have a real... He put that extra money in and bought extra players and all that. Right.
Absolutely.
And nobody rips the Indians fans more than I do. Many of you listening right now don't pay your money and don't go like my brother does. Todd goes to the games. Too many of them, actually. But
too many. I disagree with that.
You go to a lot. You go to a lot. But my point is that yes, the support isn't there. But this is where it's all one-sided right now. Anytime Francisco Lindor seems to be cornered by a reporter, he's very, very respectful. He was very respectful at Tribe Fest. He sat down with everybody. He talked to Andre Knott, who's paid by the team or by the team's TV carrier, whatever it is. And so for me, knowing full well that a lot of times Paul Dolan, hashtag Dolan's cheap, always seems to put his foot in his mouth, then somebody else has to come out and talk. Why didn't they sign Yasiel Puig? Because Bobby DiBiasio and Jim Rosenhaus told some people one time something? That's poor business. And the fans are sick of it. And now they're staying away to the point where, and yeah, I know opening day is March 26th, and it's going to be cold, and they're playing the Tigers. It's not like they're playing the Yankees or somebody else. Still not sold out yet. That should tell Dolan and his people something, and they need to do something about it. Not necessarily sign Lindor to win everybody over, but say something to know that the fan base is going to be buying a product and putting their hard-earned dollars towards a product that cares about them and cares about winning.
The opening day not being sold out is, I'm not going to say it's shocking because there's a serious backlash going on towards ownership right now, which I absolutely believe. Now, with that said, I that game is always, hey, everybody, opening day, it's a great day, yada, yada, yada. There's a couple things at play there. Number one being obviously the backlash. Number two, LeBron is coming back to Cleveland on that same night. But to me, that would be like, oh, great, we could go to both of those games in one day. The game being at 1 o'clock is actually better to me than the game being at 4 o'clock, which I don't really like. But there's a serious backlash there, and it's a real problem. But it's still opening day, and to not be able to sell that game out, that's not a telling sign. A good sign for ownership in terms of ticket sales and for the rest of the season. And you know what? This March 26th thing is absolutely absurd, and I get it. That why would you want to go to a game on March 26th? Why would the Indians be starting against the Tigers? Two cold weather cities?
No, like, it's bad. It's
start
bad.
In Tampa Bay in the Dome.
No,
I get it.
Major League Baseball seems to have this thing going where they want rivalries to start the season, rivalries to end the season, which is so stupid because you're right. When Oakland's traveling to Seattle for opening day, that's dumb. Oakland should be at home. Seattle should be at home. Those are both West Coast cities with warmer weather. It is ridiculous. But I'll say this. The Cleveland Indians, for the first time in 4 years, weren't in the playoffs last year. Still won 90-plus games. All right? 93 games. Still have Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, the MVP of the All-Star game. Will be starting that day in Shane Bieber, and they can't sell it out. You know who else having problems selling out their home opener? Detroit. Not just because I live here, I'm using it as an example. The Tigers are shit. All right, they're horrible. They're in a rebuild with nobody but Miguel Cabrera in terms of if you ask the casual fan who they know, and a few others. So are we really comparing Cleveland to Detroit based on the roster, based on what should be fan excitement? The Indians should be sold out, and they're not, and that should be a message to ownership. And I got another message for ownership. All right, and I'll make this announcement right here, right now. They trade Francisco Lindor, and Paul Dolan keeps the team under $100 million, I'm done. I'm gone. You've lost me.
Come on, you
done.
are not.
Done.
Stop.
Done. 100%. I put in way too much time.
Shit.
I put in way too much time. No.
Who's going to run this podcast?
I put in way too much time. The podcast will be done. I'm done. I will give him a year to sell. I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
You're saying if he keeps the team.
If he trades Lindor and keeps the team, if he does not sell the team, then I'm finished. I can't do this anymore. I'm very frustrated, and this is as frustrated as I've ever been. Because
let me give you a hypothetical.
I'm done. Then what are you doing? You know, then
hypothetical.
Call Mark Cuban and get him in here. He wants to buy a baseball team.
The good old boys network will never let him in.
Well, it's too bad because he'd be a really good baseball owner.
Let me ask you. I'm throwing a hypothetical at you. Tribe stumbles out of the gate, playing terribly. White Sox are hot. Twins are hot. We're in third place on July 25th. And the Dodgers come calling. Here it is. We'll give you Gavin Lux. And and they trade Frankie to the Dodgers, and Gavin Lux ends up here, and we start the season next year. Lux is great the rest of the year. And we go in with next season with Gavin Lux and basically the same pitching staff. You're done, and Dolan's the owner. You're going to be done.
What date did he trade Lindor?
I told you before the July 31st.
All right, so
deadline.
July 25th of 2011 or 2021, I resign. He better sell. I've had enough's enough. I'm done. And how many years have we supported this guy?
You and I have been in the tank for him for a long time.
But I can't do it anymore. I can't because now if he makes
quite a pronouncement here. Woohoo!
I'm just done. He's got to.
What are you going to do every night during the summer?
I don't know.
There's only so many nights you can cut your grass, dude.
I don't know. I can't do it anymore. I had this epiphany the other day, and I was like, man, they got to keep this guy. And I daydream about Game 7 in 2016 every day. I put in my time. I taped MLB Network yesterday on DVR. I was at 11 o'clock at night doing a little film study. And I put in a lot. I put in my time. But if I'm going to be putting in that kind of effort and that kind of energy, I want the same thing from the guy that's in charge. And I'm not seeing it. I could change my mind if he's. I don't know. It's frustrating. Frustrated. This is.
I'm going to have to find myself a new partner when Frankie's traded and Dolan's still on the team because there's an 85% chance of that happening. I'm just saying. I said it all along.
He needs to get rid of the team. He needs to sell the team.
I said it all winter. They should have traded him. Listen. For all I know, we're going to win the division, end up in the playoffs, and Frankie's going to be great. But I still
hope so.
That you're best. And I hope so too. Especially for the fact that I go to 50 games a year, and I love this team, and I love Frankie, and he's, one of the maybe 5 best players maybe in the last 50 years for the Indians, if not top 3. But in the end, if you end up trading him and you get a great haul, and the next year you're great, I'm still in.
Well, no, I'd still be in it if you got. I'm not. Hold on a second. I'm not quitting, but I'm saying this. I need to see some realistic proof from the man in charge, from the man that you're writing checks to. That shoot, I'll be in town on the 9th. I'll pay for the tickets. I don't care. I want to come and see the game, but I need to see that kind of
paid for. Come on,
the room's already paid for. But no, I'm dead serious. Now look, if he trades Lindor and then the payroll balloons up to 120 as they're spreading it around, I could have a different. I could feel good about that. But I need to know,
Frankie. There's no way they're going up to 120.
But I'm saying if they want to spread it around a certain way, I just don't know what the direction of this organization is. I need some, as of right now.
They're caught in the middle.
I'd like to know what the direction is. I mean, I'm not saying you need to break the bank and sign every free agent like the White Sox and then crown yourselves like Chicago's doing. And look, they're going to be a really good team, and I think they're going to be the team to beat possibly in the division if they get any pitching. I think Tim Anderson is a beast, and he scares me.
Love Tim Anderson. Did you see, by the way, what they've been doing, locking up their young studs? They're like going to the Indians 1991.
Yeah, the John Hart model. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they've pretty much done it with They have a core. This core right now of basically Tim Anderson, Luis. What's his name?
Robert.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Why did I say Robert? Eloy Jimenez. They got Abreu re-signed for another year.
Right. Moncada.
Yohan Moncada. Who am I forgetting? There's one more guy. And then obviously with Giolito and now with Dallas Keuchel, and they have one. There's one other guy that
Jose Abreu.
I said him already. It was another pitcher. Anyways, they're going to war with this core.
Yeah, they're a good team.
3 years. Okay?
Very good
and
team.
These guys are only going to get better. I don't see how they're going to get worse.
Yeah, they just gave Aaron Bummer a lot of money, and that
was the other one, the reliever, the left-hand reliever.
He's a lefty setup man, but he's really good. No, again,
good splits against righties because, as you know, there's no more one-batter lefties anymore.
No, he's very good. And look, I'm not a Kenny Williams fan. I never have been. I think he's a bit of a clown. But since they've kind of thrown Rick Hahn more into the mix as a decision maker,
he's not doing as much baseball stuff. I mean, that's Rick Hahn's job,
right? But still, I think Chicago's going to be scary. And look, last year they took the Indians behind the woodshed 8 out of or whatever it was. I think it was. What did we play them 18 times?
They beat us.
12 out of 18? Did we go 6-12 against them or something?
No. I think
8-10. I think they beat us 10 out of 18.
And they ended the season for the Indians on the game that Cookie came back and he gave up that homer to Jimenez. in the 8th inning. Remember, they brought him in. Everyone was, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And then they brought him in, and, as you know, my feeling on karma, obviously.
What are you eating, by the way?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to hide it. I'm on mute every once in a while having lunch. I got another conference call in like 20 minutes. I got to sneak this in.
You think you can sneak that past an old radio hack? Come on now.
Probably not. Obviously not.
No eating on the air. All right, Matt Dery, Todd Dery, the Dery Brothers Tribecast, waitingfornextyear.com. We're also brought to you by our friend, Dr. Ben Hornstein and the Center for Advanced Dentistry. What does Dr. Ben Hornstein think of this situation right now? And by the way, when was the last time you were there getting a little teeth cleaning?
I think I was there in January. What is Dr. Ben? Dr. Ben not thrilled with ownership right now. Gave up his seats. He asked me if he could go a couple of times with me. Yep.
Oh boy.
Listen, everybody's got a right to be mad at Paul Dolan, and everyone's got a right to have their teeth cleaned and looked at in a professional manner. And that's why I go to the Center for Advanced Dentistry at Orange Place off of Chagrin there, cfad.net. Dr. Ben not only is he a great Cleveland sports fan and a great man overall, he will put you at ease. He's so funny. He's great at what he does, and he takes great care of his patients. And he's had the same people have worked for him forever. Sandy has been my hygienist, I think, since I was in high school, and she's great, and she does a terrific job. And everybody there at the Center for Advanced Dentistry, I mean, they are truly the best of the best. They are Mike Clevenger-like in the field of dentistry. So check them out, cfad.net or at CFAD Beechwood on Twitter. Dr. Ben Hornstein and the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Check them out.
All right, let's talk about the actual team. And again, I'll be very interested in seeing on Wednesday what Chris Antonetti has to say publicly about the Lindor situation. But again, Chris is pretty smooth. But again, I'd like to hear from the guy at the very top. It doesn't sound like we're going to, although he did the media tour last year at this time with Terry Pluto and Zach and a few others.
Dare trot him out right now.
Shout out, by the way, to the Selby is Godcast, a big fan. Let's talk about the team itself. Franmil Reyes is having a huge spring. Todd, I don't know where he's going to hit in the order, and obviously with the Mercado injury, that would bump guys up if Oscar's not ready on March 26th with the wrist. Although it appears he says he will be, but let's talk some positives first. I mean, what a spring Reyes is having! 2 more home runs on Monday. What a beast!
I mean, he crushed one of those 2 yesterday too against the Angels. It's great to see because if the Indians are going to have any chance at catching the Twins and fending off the White Sox, you're going to need a monster year from Franmil Reyes. And I think that with losing the weight, I think that playing the field is actually going to put him at ease. If you remember, he never DH'd his entire career. He was a National League guy.
Right.
And I know it sounds ridiculous to regular, someone who doesn't really know the game, but guys who aren't used to being DHs and then become DHs, they miss playing in the field. It almost, certain guys have said over the years, like, I need to be in the field. It makes me feel more comfortable. Carlos Santana's a guy like that. He prefers to be in the field as well. It just, you feel like you're more into the game. Now, I think that maybe is something that's going to help Reyes this year. Obviously, with losing the weight, he's going to be, they were hoping that losing the weight wasn't going to lose the power, wasn't going to lose any of his power. He's leaned out. It's a lot like my guy at the University of Kansas, Udoka Azubuike, okay? I lost 30 pounds. No, listen.
It's true.
But I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but he lost 30 pounds from his junior to his senior year. He became so much more agile and became the best defensive big man in the country because his feet are sliding better. He's lost all the baby fat, and he's all muscle. It has not taken away from any of his strength and just given him more mobility and more strength even. So it's been a positive. And I think that Reyes is going to see a similar we're seeing that this spring. I know spring numbers can be deceptive at times, but the way I see it, he's going to have a monster year, and they're really, really desperate to have him, be great and be that power bat in the middle of the order because there's so many question marks. Bottom of the order, you don't know how Mercado is going to react in year 2 now that there's a book on him. How much is Delino DeShields going to play? There's a lot of other factors at play. So will Carlos Santana have the same monster year as he had again? So it would be great to have Reyes be a monster the way he looks this spring.
Oh, there's no doubt. And you're right. I think there will be a little bit of a regression with Santana. There will be a little bit of a regression with Perez. But what you hope is that Reyes really takes a giant leap forward. You get a consistent Jose Ramirez all season long. And obviously you get some sort of production from left field. I mean, right now, I guess Reyes would be in right and Mercado would be in center opening day against Detroit. But the question would be who would be in left. Now, if the Tigers throw Matthew Boyd as their top starter, which he's a left-hander, then we'll see.
I can't believe he's still on the Tigers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they talk about the stock market and everything going on. Buy low, sell high, but they've held on to him. And, the Indians seem to racked him around pretty good last year, especially Jose Ramirez from the right side. But I would assume then that would be Jordan Luplo's spot. Before I get to the negatives and the guys that aren't hitting, Aaron Savali's look really good. Zach Plesac's look good. Obviously, Bieber just shut the Padres down the other day, and immediately after the game, Tito told reporters he's starting opening day, and then went, I better call the kid and tell him what I just told you guys. So even with the Carrasco ailments that he's had and the Clevenger injury, the staff, at least the starting staff, looks pretty good. The question would be, how deep would they go early in the season when they need a fifth starter? Would they need a fifth starter to start the year?
Well, you start opening. It's actually interesting because you have opening day, and then there's an off day on Friday. But then they don't have an off day until April 13th. So they play from Saturday the 28th to Sunday the 12th. So they will need a fifth starter to start the year. Now, the guy I'm most excited about is Aaron Savali. He pitched great the other day against San Diego. I think, if you recall last year at this time, we had seen a little bit of Shane Bieber, obviously, and he had asserted himself, but I don't think anybody saw All-Star Game MVP followed by opening day ace of the staff the next year. I think he finished in the top 4 in strikeouts. His command is as good as it gets. I think most people thought, okay, well, Bieber be the back end, fifth starter, and we'll see how it goes. And now he's become, arguably the best guy you have. I think you're going to see a Bieber-like jump from Savali. He came up last year. He doesn't wow you with the stuff, but man, that makeup, it's like a young Corey Kluber. And that's the guy he's trying to emulate, and he's doing a great job of it. And I'll tell you what, I think we're going to see a massive jump, same way you saw with Bieber last year. And when you have a healthy Clevenger, who, by the way, was throwing yesterday, I saw a video of him throwing off, I think it was flat ground, but he was looking like he was not holding back at all. He was cutting it loose. He wants to be back by opening day. I personally think that they probably will. That's
crazy, but man, he's a quick healer. He really is.
Yeah. So, when you have him, and you have Savali, and you have Bieber, and you have Carrasco, I mean, whoever the fifth guy, and obviously Plutko's going to be that last guy because he's out of options. And Plutko's actually, with his
he's solid.
He's solid. Curveball. Fifth starter right now.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't love his the analytics say that he's always going to get lit up. Okay, but somehow he always managed to. I feel like every time last year I looked up, he was 6 innings and 3 runs, which
correct.
From your fifth starter in the American League, you'll take all day.
Yeah.
So we'll see how far that takes him. But again, the starting pitching is the least of my worries, even with the injuries.
No, and obviously the Class A injury hurts. The bullpen, everybody's talking about Cam Hill being a guy that makes the team. They're going to carry 8 relievers. I still like where this pen is going. I think Karinchak, and I know staff scout Andrew Raffel was at the game the other day. Close personal friend, by the way, of Ed Slott of IRA Master. But anyway, Slott's a fun. But Andy was at the game the other day, and so, and he even said with Karinchak, I mean, that's the thing that was missing from last year's pen was, and Rafael saw this, was the swing and miss. Karinchak got in a little bit of trouble the other day, but got out of it due to the strikeout. He had a runner at third and 1 out. So, that's a guy to keep an eye on. Nobody's wowing me yet. Logan Allen's given up a lot of runs. I don't think he's going to start the year on the team. Does James Hoyt make the team? I guess. right? I guess.
I think James White's definitely making the team. I think the guy who is pitching his way off the team and he has no options left, and that's why basically everyone has him on the team, is Hunter Wood.
See, Hunter Wood to me is a gas can. I don't.
He does nothing for me either. But
nothing.
You know, with the relievers, sometimes you're playing that options game. So, but again, if he's pitching this poorly all spring, and you have so many other young arms, like, why waste your time with him?
I agree, but again, we know who the manager is, and Tito likes the veterans over the young guys. Speaking of younger guys, I know Jake Bauers is only 23, 24, but Todd, I've been watching, and the swings and misses is alarming. And I know it's the spring, and they got him working on different things, and supposedly his attitude and his effort are better, but I just, again, do you carry Freeman and Arroyo? And what about Bobby Bradley over Jake Bauers right now?
You and I had this conversation on text the other day. If Bobby Bradley could play the outfield, I believe he'd make the team. I do. What's holding him back right now is that he can only be first base and DH. Domingo Santana is locked in for the DH spot. First base, Carlos Santana is playing every day. I mean, that's just going to happen. And if he has one day off, 1 or 2 days off in the season, it's not the biggest deal. So finding at bats for Bradley is not going to be the easiest thing in the world. Now, if I were the Indians 2 weeks ago, I would have been saying, Bobby, let's teach you how to play some outfield. If you got to throw him out there, you got to throw him out there. He's tearing the cover off the ball in the spring, too. He's doing a heck of a lot better than Bauers. Bauers is, like you said, he's only 24 years old. And, he was still a top 100 guy at one point, but he doesn't look any better to me this spring.
No, it's disappointing. Very disappointing.
I gave him so many chances last year, and he was a big disappointment. And I just don't know what to do with him at this point. He does have options. I mean, he's a guy that can go down. The reason to keep him around would be as a backup first baseman, obviously, and platoon in the outfield with Luplow. But I think what's going to end up happening is Bradley's going to end up going down. Bauers is going to get a chance to be the left-handed part of the platoon with Luplow, and if I'm guessing with a short leash. And if it doesn't work, you got other options. As for the utility spot, you mentioned Arroyo's out of options. He has been hitting, but he's not a shortstop, and I know that people, if he can't play shortstop, he can't be the utility guy. Here's the thing. Is Frankie Lindor ever going to come out of a game unless it's unless we're up 10-0 in the sixth inning and they want to rest him? Of course he's not. So, do you really need a backup shortstop? Okay, if he got hurt during a game, you know who was a shortstop in his career?
Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez.
Exactly.
Okay, right. I mean, so if Jose had to play shortstop for 3 innings,
he's good. He's good at it.
Right, but I'm saying if that had to happen,
he'd be fine.
The next day you bring up someone from AAA. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Tito loves Freeman, and he loves that versatility, and I got to give Freeman credit. I mean, he was pretty good last year, so. We'll see. I don't know.
And Mike Freeman could also be your backup first baseman if you needed
Well, that's the guy who could, right. But that depends on him making the team, and who knows if he's going to make the team or not.
Yep. No. Dery Brothers Tribecast, Matt and Todd with you. Spring training edition. We're about, halfway through spring training. It's only, what's today? I never know the day of the week. It's a Tuesday. It's March 10th.
Today is Tuesday, March 10th, and the first home opener is in 16 days.
Oh, my gosh. We're
2
getting
weeks
close.
from Thursday, I'll be freezing my ass off, I'm sure.
If I asked you right here, right now, if this team wins the division, what would you say?
Today?
Yeah.
How they're currently constructed?
Correct.
Obviously if I'm talking with my head says no, my heart says yes.
Everybody's picking Minnesota. I think I'm more scared of Chicago. I seriously think that. I think the White Sox, that lineup is potent.
Both of those lineups are potent. I'm a big fan of Luis Arias, and I think he's going to have a monster year for the Twins. You forget that they have Josh Donaldson now, right? I mean, they had a great lineup last year. and they added Josh Donaldson to the mix. If they can get any sort of pitching, they're going to be really good. I mean, they're going to be really good.
But I'm not saying there's no.
I don't think that rotation is very good. But you know what? They won the division last year with that shit rotation too.
Agreed. And Giolito obviously had a huge year for the White Sox. Probably you would expect him to continue to do that. I'm not saying that Odorizzi can't do that for the Twins. I'm just not seeing it. Everybody's saying, oh, they got Kenta Maeda and Rich Hill. If Kenta Maeda and Rich Hill were any good, when they've started some playoff games for the Dodgers, how many times are those guys always thrown in at the end or having to go to the pen? I think Rich Hill did make some starts, but no, I think Chicago. I think Chicago is going to be very good.
Interesting to watch in the American League. I want to see how he plays. His stuff plays in the American League. A lot of times, and I've been a big talker of this. I've been saying it for years. There are guys who look pretty good in the National League, and they get to the American League, and all of a sudden they're not the same guy, and it's usually soft tossers. So, my favorite examples of this are always Ryan Dempster and Kyle Loesch. Those guys sucked in the American League, and then they went to St. Louis and and the Cubs, and magically, oh, look at these guys, they're pretty good. And then they'd come back to the American League and they'd suck again.
Yeah. So Jordan Zimmerman.
Jordan Zimmerman. There you go. Another great Tigers big money signing.
One more year they have of him. So
wow. Well, it's okay. Miggy's got 4 more?
Correct.
At 32 million.
Yeah, but he's in the best shape of his life. Come on.
He's tearing the cover off the ball this spring. He's going to be great.
Oh man, he hit 2. He hit 2 home runs off of Garrett Cole the other day, which were actually pretty impressive. But it's like, are they throwing a parade? Are they throwing a parade down Woodward Avenue? My gosh, it's the spring. Relax.
Looking forward to them losing 100 games again.
Oof. I'm going to probably be in the building in a couple of weeks. I've got to try to finagle my way into the day games on Thursday and Friday, the 4th and the 5th of April.
I saw you have the invite out for the Union Woodshop meal with Andre.
No response from either guy. Zach Meisel talking a lot of yang about calling me out for no invite to the Woodshop, and then he doesn't even respond. Come on, Zach. I know you're listening. Tweet back. Don't you want some burnt ends and mac and cheese?
It's going to be glorious.
Yeah,
and you and I will be at the Tampa Bay Tribe game on the 9th.
Correct.
With executive producer Jeremy.
Perfect.
Be a good time.
Perfect. Yeah, Zach Meisel. Come on now. Keep eating your slows downtown, buddy. Please. You want real barbecue, we got to go up 75. I'll make it happen. Let's go. Downtown Clarkston's calling Zach and Dre's name. Bring Tito. I don't care. Bring anybody. We'll make it a team dinner.
Wasn't Mark Mazur from Clarkston?
Correct. He was a Clarkston Wolf back in the day. Played for the great Dan Fife. I don't know where this is all going.
One of your favorites.
Oh my gosh.
I think we got to wrap up. I got to be on a call in 5 minutes.
All right. Well, I just, the White Sox scare me. Just to kind of answer my own question to you, that's the team that I see. There's the Twins were good last year, very, very good, and were the best team by far, and pretty much ran the table for most of the summer until the Indians caught them, and then they lapped them again. The Twins did, but Chicago's the team that really, you're right, just. They're solid. The thing that I like better, if I'm the Twins, I'll take Rocco Baldelli over Rick Renteria all day.
Oh, I'm looking forward to a summer of Rick Renteria meaningless pitching changes.
That's why I think they put that rule in. I think they put that rule in just for Renteria.
They might have. That guy. So I'm just looking at our topics. We hit everything. The top topics were the Frankie article, Mercado injury. Did we talk about Oscar? Yeah, he'll be back. The rotation, Bobby Bradley and Jake Bowers.
I think we hit it all.
The Class A pen spot in the home opener. Sold out. I think we did it.
What about
covered a lot of ground there?
What about Super Tuesday? Let's talk about it. I was there. I was down the street from my house today at this local church. I was there at 6:55 this morning.
Very, very impressed and proud of you, by the way.
So we're doing our service here in the great state of Michigan, and I'm sure you were out. When's the Ohio primary?
Next Tuesday.
Who's that clown in Ohio again? Why am I drawing to Jim Jordan? How's he doing?
Jim, GYM, don't have to. All right, we gotta just not do this.
Oh, all right. All right, man. Well, good stuff. Good. Now you're going to the opener, right? That goes without saying.
Of course, with both kids.
Beautiful.
I bought a standing. You know, it was great. I forgot the kids are on springer break that week, and I mean that's if the coronavirus hasn't ravaged the city. Now that there's 3 people in Cuyahoga County that have it, but I had to buy a standing room ticket so Brooke could sit on my lap for 9 innings, which she's too big for at this point.
Oh,
but,
for sure. Yeah.
You know, mom will be at work, so I got both kids, and I'll be taking them both.
We didn't discuss keys to the season, Annie and Josh.
Listen, I'll find out opening day, but my people better be there. There's nobody better. Listen, Josh is A+. Annie's A++. And I would imagine she'll be back as she has been taking Josh and Annie take such great care of me. So hope to see them on March 26th and give them a big hug and take our annual photo.
All right, buddy, that was good stuff. We'll probably do one more right when the team breaks camp, or we'll get it rolling.
When the roster's done and we know who's what, we absolutely will do it.
No question about it. All right, man. Safe travels. Although it's good that you're in town and
nowhere, dude.
Grounded.
No, I'm going nowhere.
How about that?
Not for a couple weeks.
All right, there it is. Another installment of the Dery Brothers Tribecast. Thank you for listening. Brought to you by our friends at waitingfornextyear.com. Thanks to Craig Lindor. We never give Craig enough love. He's the man that puts us on the air. And, of course, Dr. Ben Hornstein, the Center for Advanced Dentistry. Got to give a shout-out, of course, to executive producer Jeremy, podcast scout Andrew Raffel, chief West Coast scout.
Yes. He's like the Steve Lubradich of the West Coast for this podcast.
Oh, my God. I got to text Lubo. I think Lubo's retired. I got to see what he's doing.
I think he is, too.
He hooked us up with those tickets in Arlington. Oh, man.
In 2007, when you went up to the Masneys.
That's right.
We'll have to save that one for another day. That's a great story.
That is a great. I wonder where Tom Masney is these days.
I don't know, but that guy got out. That guy got out in the 10th inning of a tie game. He went through 3, 4, 5. I think it was like Pedroia, Ortiz, and Mike Lowell. 1, 2, 3, and then we got Frankie Gutierrez hit the grand slam off John Lester after the Trotniks RBI that gave us the lead. God, man, I love that 07 team.
Great team. That wedge grinding team. That wedge grinding team is as good as it gets. It really is.
Would have won the World Series too.
Oh God!
Should've,
all right, that'll be another episode for another time. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.